Two recent appearances on Good Morning Britain unequivocally exposed the hypocrisy of Britain as a nation. Dr. Kehinde Andrews and Drillminister versus the British Parliament. This is the InSight.
This is Defenders Entertainment.
Dr. Kehinde Andrews is a university professor, initiator of the first Black Studies degree in the UK and chair of the Organisation of Black Unity. He appeared on Good Morning Britain in October to debate the legacy of Britain's most celebrated war criminal, Winston Churchill. This was nothing short of a seamless dismantling of Piers Morgan and the rest of the panel. Dr. Kehinde laid the true history of Churchill completely bare.
I mean, the historical record here is clear. Even Boris Johnson admits that he was a racist. He was someone who believed that the white race was superior, the natives didn't have any right to their lands in the Americas, the Indians were a ghastly people, and just was a general imperialist racist.
Is there any way that we can say, because those were the views of their time, and the fact that he actually achieved something which saved, defended, protected our nation, means that we can separate those things out?
That's the Jimmy Savile defence, isn't it? It was just a bit different back in the day. Well, actually,
the likenings to Winston Churchill to Jimmy Savile.
Well, let's make a better comparison. At the time, Leo Amery, the Secretary of India, not an anti-racist, actually said that Churchill's views were so extreme on India, he couldn't separate them from Hitler's. And the truth is, Hitler was a great military leader, a product of his time, and if they won the war, we'd be having a discussion now.
But luckily we can separate Sir Winston Churchill from Hitler because they went up against each other in the war.
Because one
Sir
won
Winston Churchill
and one lost. The fact of the matter is that Churchill's views were so repugnant and they actually led to 3 million people starving to death in Bengal because he was more interested in stockpiling rations for the war than saving starving Indians because he didn't believe they were really people.
Matter?
Absolutely no lies detected. The rest of the panel had no significant reply to his arguments other than, but he saved the nation, and why do you hate this country so much? To be clear, centuries ago, the British sent their criminals to America and Australia. The result was the massacre of the indigenous peoples to genocidal proportions. When speaking on what is by any standard an unquestionable atrocity, Churchill had this to say. I do not admit, for instance, that a great wrong has been done the Red Indians of America or the black people of Australia. I do not admit that a wrong has been done to those people by the fact that a stronger race, a higher grade race, a more worldly wise race, to put it that way, has come and taken their place. In the 1950s, Churchill presided over the kidnapping and imprisonment of over 160,000 Kenyans and the torture of over 90,000 suspected members of the legendary Mau Mau freedom fighters who were simply fighting against British terrorism known as colonial rule. To be clear, when we say torture, we're talking about castration, mutilation, burning, anal rape, whipping, electric shock and shooting, not to mention forced labor and the mass theft and destruction of land and cattle. This is clearly a man who took pleasure in the murder of African people, as he described his British Army exploits in places like Sudan as, quote, a lot of jolly little wars against barbarous people. Churchill's attitude towards Indians wasn't much better. Quote, I hate Indians. They are a beastly people with a beastly religion, unquote. During World War II, while many Indians also under colonial rule were defending British interests, Churchill's hatred towards them led him to steal millions of tons of rice from the people of Bengal in order to feed British troops. They were already experiencing a famine as a result of British colonial policy, and the result was the starving to death of 4 million Indians. To be clear, Hitler is said to have killed 6 million Jews in Germany. Churchill killed 4 million in India alone, not to mention the rest of the British Empire. And some say his views on Jews wasn't even that dissimilar to Hitler. Despite all this, in a BBC poll in 2002, Winston Churchill was declared the greatest Briton of all time. His statue stands prominently in Parliament Square, and TV series and big blockbuster movies continue to celebrate his legacy, while those who call out his crimes, like we saw on Good Morning Britain, are accused of irrational hatred or encouraged to take the good with the bad. Fast forward to 2018, where the black music phenomenon known as drill is under attack from the arm of the government known as the criminal justice system. Earlier this year, the Metropolitan Police issued a ban against West London drillers 10-11.
Today, a judge banned 5 young drill artists from performing or uploading songs that incite violence. They call themselves 10-11 after their West London postcode. The ruling is significant, thought to be the first time a CBO, a modern-day ASBO, has been used to censor art.
There is a clear link between these drill videos, as they're called, and the violence that would certainly have occurred the day when our officers intercepted these 5 young men on their way to undoubtedly commit an act of very serious violence.
You go onto your mobile phone or tablet and put in drill, search, up will come a whole series of drill music videos.
Showing what?
Very quickly you will see that these are associated with lyrics which are about glamorising violence, serious violence, murder, stabbing.
Other crews, such as 6-7 and Section Boys, have been subject to similar intrigue, having videos, shows and even individual artists banned from making music. The hypocrisy of all this was nicely exposed when Defenders entertainment artist Drillminister, in expert fashion, took a number of quotes from British parliamentarians and wrote an entire song based on the content.
The day that it becomes, you are hurting us more than you are helping us. I won't knife you in the back, I'll knife you in the front. Team A! The moment is coming, when the knife gets heated. Stuck in the front and twisted. She'll be dead soon, can't stop breathing. Flowers in the grave, but your hubby and the grandma grieving. My run things, call me Julius Caesar. Art block posted, tracking sliders reefer. This gal try to say that she runs country like a many old geezer. I wanna arrest her, she's chopped up in a bag in the freezer. That's political drilling.
I swear, close your eyes and listen to the thing. If you don't know the quotes and where they come from, you would swear blind this is just a next drill tune. Ratings to Drillminister. In one tune, he shone a light on the violent nature of the society in general and took his insights also to Good Morning Britain a couple months ago.
I wasn't surprised, really. Politicians are just like everybody else on the street. They're human beings. They do things that we do. There's no difference in human beings. Human beings have got character traits. The character traits that are portrayed on us are always negative. The character traits that are put towards politicians is always positive, which is not reality. That's the state of the country that we're living in right now. That's the state of the politics. That's the extremism that's going on. You get me? I just highlighted it. That's what I did. I just put it out there for everybody to see.
Can I just ask a question? Because everyone's going to be dying to know that. Why have you, right now, got the balaclava on?
It's a portrayal of me keeping my identity to myself so that my music has more power. That's what it's for. It's not about me.
So, the question remains, is drill the cause of violence among black youth? How can it be? The violence existed before drill. This generation of drillers only inherited what was already there. So yes, it's a reflection of our environment. Keyword, reflection. A mirror into what's going on in our community. The image is ugly. We don't like to see it. But seeing it is one of those essential components for doing something about it. So if you want to solve the problem, we might want to take the advice of Scrib from 6-7.
How do you solve something that has so much answers for it? You don't look at one thing. There must be so much other things causing the problem. Do you get it? Like, it's not, like, basically, it's not drill. That's what I always come back to, it's not drill.
Real talk. Banning drill is just a cop-out for people who don't want to really address the causes of the realities expressed in this music. Banning drill won't stop the violence. What it will do is create another avenue for feds, judges, and the criminal justice system at large to criminalize black youth. The irony of this is that ever since the early days of so-called gangster rap, speaking about the violence we witness and experience is perceived by many as the only way of escaping that very same violence. We live in a society that justifies and even celebrates the genocidal, murderous and criminal acts of its historical and present-day greats, while it criminalizes the youth of this nation for writing songs that speak about violence. Think about it. The British government goes to war for territory and resources to acquire and protect wealth. What is a postcode but a territory? What is money but a resource to achieve wealth? So if you want to know what is influencing youth violence and the music that comes from it, why not start with the ideals of a nation that builds itself on murder and pillaging, celebrates murderers and pillagers, and then subjects the descendants of those it has murdered and pillaged, now living within its borders, to disenfranchised inner city areas lacking in resources and opportunities relative to the rest of the society. Man could go into how the government from the top to the bottom actually deliberately created the environment for trap, drill and so-called gang culture in the black community in general. We got the receipts, but that's for another insight. For now, instead of coming down on drillers for saying what they're saying, we should really ask ourselves why so many of us see spitting specifically these kind of bars as the only way to make a career in music. You don't have to like what they're saying, but not every young MC is drilling. Not every young rapper is spitting violent lyrics, and not all lyrics that speak about violence celebrate or glorify it. So why aren't all those perspectives and styles of rap as popular as drill? Where are the platforms dedicated to profiling and promoting rappers who spit differently? Where can other youngers go to find artists just as successful, getting just as much views, shows and hype for spitting revolutionary, socially and politically conscious bars? This is why gotKushTV created UK Fire 32, so we're inviting all rappers, MCs, poets to holler at us, especially if your bars are revolutionary but gangster. And if you want to see more of that kind of content, we encourage you to support the team. Season 3 of UK Fire 32 coming soon. In conclusion, the fact that there's so much money to be made off of making music that projects violence and murder towards each other is a legitimate concern. But can we simply solve the problem by condemning and censoring the artists while ignoring the conditions that created them? What role does Black Studies have to play in correcting the lies that we have been told about Black British history? Should we allow the British government and its media to criminalize our youth while they celebrate their criminals? Those are the questions, and this is the insight. Once again, bigging up everyone for taking in this edition of The Insight. Again, we ask you to share, and also comment. This is a big one for me, and I really do want to hear what people's responses are to all the content that we've shared in this particular Insight, and more specifically, the questions at the end. Again, our favorite comment is going to get a free t-shirt, yeah? So if you've got our favorite comment, we're going to send you a free t-shirt. So we want to know what you're thinking, them kind of things there, you know what I'm saying? Like, comment, share, kings and queens. And we'll see you next week for another edition of The Insight.
gotKushTV is supported by Better Marketing Mastery, Defenders Entertainment, the Hidden Science Academy, Black History Walks, Center of Pan-African Thought, the Manhood Academy for Boys, Al-Kebulan Revivalist Movement, and Marifa Circle.